Hello. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to jump on. I don't know if you guys can hear me okay. If someone is on live right now, go ahead and give me a thumbs up or comment below and let me know that you guys can hear me because I hope that you can. But I'll give it a few minutes and let a couple people jump on. I see some people jumping on. Hello. Hope you guys are having a good day. Awesome. Glad you guys can hear me okay. Awesome. All right. So what I'm going to be talking about today are presumptives, and some of you don't know what that is, so I will explain everything here in just a minute. But I do want to introduce myself. I'm Laura Page. I'm a veteran coach of VA Claims Insider on the Increase Hunters team. And if you guys haven't seen me yet, I am glad to be here on the live right now, and I'm hoping to do a couple more in the future. But hi, hello. Awesome. Glad you guys can hear me. So, hey, Jason. And Jason is also a coach with us. I see we have a couple coaches in the comment section, so they'll be helping me answer questions. So if you guys have questions or comments as we're going through, please drop them in that chat section. And I will try to answer some questions as we're going towards the end if my fellow coaches aren't already all over it, but it looks like they are. Awesome. Hello. Awesome. So let's talk presumptive. So what that is, there's some illnesses and injuries that can be directly linked to your service based off unique circumstances of your service, where you served, what time you served, different exposures, either to environmental exposures or to chemical exposures. So there's different deployments and things like that are a direct link with some illnesses. This simplifies and speeds up the entire claim process because they're already assumed or presumed to be connected to your service. So what I want to talk about is a couple of those issues and what they are connected with and how you prove that, because there's still some things you need in order to prove presumptive. So one is a DD-214 or orders to show you where you were, where you said you were. So for Vietnam, for Camp Lejeune water exposure, those are certain things that have exposures like Agent Orange or Gulf War syndrome for Gulf War veterans. So you do have to prove that you were there and that you were active during that time. And always, anything that you want to claim with the VA, you have to have a diagnosis. If it's not on paper, officially, the VA is going to say it doesn't exist. But if you do have some of these issues and you were in service for some of these times, and I'm going to go into some specifics, make sure you're not leaving money on the table. And that's why I made that as the title, because there's a lot of issues that you may have that you don't really think are connected to your service, because you think, oh, it comes with age and wear and tear, or whatever the case may be. You think it might be hereditary. But if the VA is claiming responsibility and saying there is a connection with your service and some of these illnesses, absolutely hit the ground running with the claim and get that compensation for those issues, because you put your mind and your body on the line for your service, and it's time for you to be compensated for those illnesses and injuries. So I'm going to start with Agent Orange. So Agent Orange with Vietnam veterans, you of course do have to have your DD-214 to show that you were in service in Vietnam, or if you were in the DMZs, in the Korean DMZ during the Vietnam era, and it could be exposed to Agent Orange. So there is an Agent Orange registry, and you can go in for an exam and be on their registry as someone who is exposed. And if you haven't done that and you are a Vietnam era veteran, I absolutely suggest jumping on there, getting that exam, and getting on the registry. That's going to be a huge starting point for those claims. But there's a few things that I'm going to list them off here that are presumptives for Agent Orange and Vietnam veterans: diabetes type 2, leukemia, ischemic heart disease, Parkinson's disease, prostate cancer, or respiratory cancer, whether that's throat, lung, or whatnot, as well as peripheral neuropathy. And if I'm throwing out any acronyms or things that you don't know what they are, please let me know. You can always email me directly at laura@vaclaimsinsider.com, and I'll answer any questions that you have about some of these issues. Hello from Puerto Rico. Awesome. So peripheral neuropathy, I know, is one that some people may not know what that is. So that is numbness and tingling in your extremities. And a lot of times that does go hand in hand with diabetes, but it can be completely separate. So if you're having numbness and tingling in your hands where you can't feel your feet or your fingers, that's what that is. And if you're having that issue, make sure you address that, because it could be because of Agent Orange exposure. Also want to talk about Gulf War, because a lot of people may not know that there are things called Gulf War illness. And there's a lot of people suffering with stuff from Gulf War that they just don't realize could be an issue, and that could be connected to your service. There's things like chronic fatigue syndrome. There's things like fibromyalgia, gastrointestinal disorders like irritable bowel syndrome. And those, if you have multiple of those, there's also something called CMI, chronic multi-symptom illness. And that's when you have more than one of those conditions. Like fibromyalgia would affect your joints and your muscles, whereas irritable bowel syndrome affects your gut and your intestines. So if you have multiple of those issues, it's considered a chronic multi-symptom illness, as long as you've been having those issues for more than 6 months at the same time. So if you're having some symptoms, and you may not currently be diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia or IBS, but you know you're having some issues. And let's be honest, the military teaches us that suck it up mentality, not to talk about our issues or injuries. So a lot of us just live with those things. It becomes our normal and we just deal with it. Our stomach hurts, so we pop a Tums. Our joints hurt, so we take Motrin, vitamin M, which is what we all do. So if you're dealing with some of these issues, and I've got a list, if you're having some of these issues, you may have chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia or IBS, and you've just been ignoring it. And if you don't have a diagnosis, like I said, step one is getting it officially on paper. Whether you think that you have something or not, if it's not diagnosed medically, then it's not something that you can claim. And this is for anything. This is not just for presumptives. This is for any claim with the VA. Diagnosis is step one. So I have got a list of some symptoms that are chronically or frequently associated with chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and IBS. So of course, fatigue, if you're chronically exhausted, doesn't matter how long you sleep, if you're tired when you wake up, that's fatigue. Skin issues, headaches, joint pain, muscle pain, neurological symptoms like the tingling in the fingers or nerve pain, sleep disturbances. I know most of us veterans have that. GI symptoms, whether that's going to the bathroom a lot or not being able to go to the bathroom, cardiac symptoms, as well as for the ladies out there, cycle issues. Those are things that if you have maybe one or maybe a couple of those, they go overlooked a lot of times. But if you're having a lot of these, odds are there's something more going on. So get those addressed. And we actually have a network of doctors that we can link you up with through our elite program with VA Claims Insider to help you get those diagnoses. Now, we can't diagnose everything remotely because we normally can't see you in person. But if they are able to talk to you, see your records, see what's going on, they may be able to diagnose you with IBS or migraines or chronic fatigue syndrome. So if you're missing that step one, that medical evidence, you can sign up with me today to be your veteran coach, get you into our elite program. You'll have access to me and our team and our providers through our networks. And you can sign up with me at www.vabenefitsexpert.com. And then you'll get that intake call with me. We'll find a strategy for success and get you on the right path to getting that compensation that you need. Pineville, Louisiana. Hey! Got my Louisiana folks in the house. Hey, throat punch, that's me. Awesome. Burn pits are on the way to presumptives. They are. So those of us that had deployments recently, if you were around the burn pits, that they are working on that. I don't think it's officially something that's acknowledged yet, but they are working on it. So fingers crossed that they get that done, because let's be honest, there's a lot of respiratory issues when you're breathing all that stuff from the burn pits. So absolutely, they are on the right path for that. Yes. Hello, Newark. Awesome. We got everybody everywhere. And I hope you guys are staying safe. I know things are crazy across the country, across the world right now with everything going on. So I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy. I'm glad to see everybody. We got Texas folks. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So another thing that there are presumptives with is if you were a prisoner of war. There's some that were for any length of being a prisoner of war or being one for over 30 days. So there's a lot of issues there that are presumptive. So if you were ever a prisoner of war, absolutely jump on this, see what you've got going on, see what's presumptive, and see if it connects. And I do want to preface this, just because you were somewhere doesn't mean you're going to get those things. But if you have those issues, then you definitely want to address it and make sure you get the compensation for those issues. All right, so for transitioning vets, if you just got out or you're about to get out and you're getting all these exams done, make sure you get checked out for all this stuff, especially if you fall into any of these categories. But some, regardless of where you serve, deployments or not, some issues are presumed connected, period, for transitioning vets. So if you're diagnosed with a chronic health condition within 1 year of exiting, it is presumed to be connected. Not every condition, but there are some. So if you have questions about those, of course, you can email me and I'll get you set up and see what you've got going on and what may be presumed. But multiple sclerosis, tuberculosis, a couple of those big ones are presumed to be connected. Arthritis, because we all have a lot of wear and tear with the military, regardless of branch or where you went. There's a lot of things that we know they're connected. So, and then there's some that are within 7 years of exiting. So that's another big thing. If you recently got out and you have your medical records, search through them and see any and everything that happened during your service, any illness or injury. Because, for instance, I broke my hand in combatives, and Sergeant Major, if you're watching, it was broken. So it doesn't bother me anymore, but I claimed it anyways because I have my medical records, my LOD paperwork, and if my hand gets worse, I got rated for my hand at 0%, because there's 3 big things the VA needs in order to grant a claim. 1, of course, is a diagnosis, which we've talked about. 2 is current and persistent symptoms. And then 3 is that service connection. So either proof in your military medical records of that illness or injury, or a way to link it back through nexus letters, medical opinions, evidence, lay statements, all those things. But usually a nexus is going to help if you don't have proof in your medical records. But I don't have the current symptoms. My hand doesn't bother me anymore. But if it does, say 10, 15 years from now, I get really bad arthritis in that finger that I broke, then I can claim an increase, because they already acknowledge that it's connected. They just said it's not enough to pay me for, and that's fine. It doesn't hurt right now. But if it does later, then I can be compensated for. And that's one thing. A lot of us, we say, well, I'm not as bad off as so-and-so. I don't deserve that. If you served and you got hurt or you got sick, you deserve it. And if there's something in your medical records, any illness or injury, I do advise to claim it. Because even if it doesn't bother you now, it could in the future, and you don't want to miss out because you waited too long, and then they're saying, oh, that's just arthritis in your hand because you're old now. But I'll say, no, I broke my hand during combatives. So there's ways to link it back. You want to do things as soon as you can after you get out. And just because if it's been 10, 20, 40 years or whatnot, it does not mean it's too late. There's ways, there's presumptives, there's things to link issues back to your service. But it is best if you get started as soon as you can, so that the VA doesn't have any subjectivity to say, oh, that's because of something else. Went off on a little tangent there, but okay. So there's some other presumptives with other things like exposure to the water contamination in Camp Lejeune. So between, I think, 53 and 87, if you were there, and that's National Guard, reserves, active duty, whatnot, if you can prove you were there with orders, that's good to always keep a copy of your orders. If you don't have those, see if you can find those, request your C file, get that ball rolling. And if you need help with that, I got you. But things like Parkinson's disease, kidney cancer, liver cancer, bladder cancer, lymphoma, leukemia, there's a lot of things that are presumed to be connected with just that water exposure at Camp Lejeune. So there's a lot of things. I've not covered everything because I don't have time to cover everything. But if you have questions and say, hey, I have this, is that connected to an exposure for Gulf War or for the current wars or for Vietnam era veterans? So let us know if you have questions about something that you have going on right now, because it very well could be connected and you just didn't know it or didn't think about going that route through disability. So I see a lot of questions coming in. Hello, NorCal, awesome. We've got a little bit of everybody in the house. Going to claim chronic fatigue syndrome, again, denied under hazardous exposure to Gulf War. It's definitely something you got to have that diagnosis for sure. If that was the reason why you were denied before, you want to get that diagnosis, get it officially on paper. And we do have providers that can diagnose that through our network. So let us know if we can help. Like I said, you can sign up. Hey, from Puerto Rico. You can sign up to work directly with me. We'll go through your decision letters. We'll go through your records, see what's going on. If you're missing whatever those, there's 3 pieces of the puzzle with the VA, and we can figure out which piece is missing, if any, and make sure you fill in that gap, because you have to prove it. You have to have that service connection. You have to have proof you were there if it's a presumptive, and you have to have proof that that condition exists. Those are the big things with presumptives in particular. Let me see if I can answer some questions. Hey, Jeff Jolyn. Hey. Happy Tuesday. Yes. Going to file for chronic fatigue syndrome secondary to OSA. I'll need the med team's help. Yes, so get in contact with your coach if you already have one. If not, I'd love to be your coach. I'd love to get you set up for success. But yes, absolutely. Our med team can definitely assist, and our doctors are able to diagnose a few things remotely. Chronic fatigue syndrome, migraines, IBS, tinnitus. There's a list, and it is limited because, again, it's remote, but let us know, and we can get you linked up. Hey, Travis. Oh, awesome. So Jason posted the list for us. So there's GERD, IBS, chronic fatigue syndrome, plantar fasciitis, female sexual arousal disorder, peripheral neuropathy, radiculopathy, and tinnitus are the list of things that our doctors can diagnose. Now, as far as nexus statements and independent medical opinions, we pretty much do it all. But as far as initial diagnosis, that's the list of things that we can assist with. What about anthrax vaccines? Are they included in Gulf War syndrome? So not necessarily specific to anthrax vaccines, but just being a Gulf War veteran in general, there's a lot of things you're exposed to either through injections or through environmental exposure. So if you are a Gulf War veteran, we'll definitely get you on the right path and see what we can do. Huntsville, Alabama, we're neighbors. Hey, Steven. Awesome. Gulf War vet here, anything connected with oil well smoke besides respiratory issues? I'm not sure about specific with the oil well smoke, but there's a lot of presumptives with Gulf War, a lot of chronic conditions that go hand in hand with that. So, are all broken bones during the service considered service connected, even if not issues now? So like I said, I broke my finger in combatives. And I got 0%. I do have proof that I broke it. I have my x-rays and all that. So I have proof that it happened. So it is service connected, but it's at 0% because it doesn't bother me now. But again, it's a 0% rating is still a win. That means the VA has acknowledged that it is connected to your service and that it's an issue or was an issue, because it can get worse. If that bone didn't heal well and you get arthritis, or you break it again because it's weak. A lot of those things can happen later on. So if you broke something in service, absolutely file for it, especially if it bothers you now, because you may get more than 0%. But if it doesn't bother you now, you're not having issues, still claim it. Absolutely still claim it. I had kidney cancer and it was denied. So again, if you guys have questions about things that were denied and what the path forward is, you can sign up. We can get you evaluated, take a look at your decision letters and see what they said. Because usually they will explain in your decision letter why you were denied or underrated or whatever their thought process was, or if there was something missing. Because a lot of times it may be they didn't get your paperwork with the diagnosis of your kidney cancer, or they didn't have your DD-214 or your orders that connect that to that time and place in service. So let us know if we can help evaluate your decision letters and see what we can do to get you on the right path. Hey, Leah's mom. Hi. Awesome. Awesome. All right, I have kidney cancer, bladder cancer, and prostate cancer. Just found tumor removed in service. Can you help? Yes, Henry. So go ahead and sign up if you're ready to move forward and get on the right path. You can sign up at VA Claims Expert or VABenefitsExpert.com, and we can find you a path to success, especially if you are a veteran of any of the times that we talked about. We'll definitely work on getting those connected. Been trying to get GERD for years, had a nexus from you guys, still got denied. So are you a Gulf War veteran? For those of you asking about some of these issues with the presumptives, if you can prove your time in service, it is presumptive. So you may just need to get some case law, some lay statement. Lay statement would be either a personal statement or a buddy statement to talk about either, verifying your service at that time and place or verifying your issues that you're currently having. Buddy and personal letters do go a long way. So make sure you're not leaving that part untapped. And always read your decision letters. If you get denied, there should be a reason why, and they should tell you what the missing piece of the puzzle was. And the VA is not always the most user-friendly system out there, so they don't always tell you exactly what you need to do to fix it. They may just deny it and say you didn't claim it right, but you don't know why. So if you've been previously denied for something, it has to be appealed either through a higher level review, supplemental claim, or appealing to the board. So it's all how you approach it, and it's very strategic sometimes because wordage is everything, and the way you go about things is very particular sometimes. So let us know if we can help. Go for veterans here from Virginia. How do I get a coach? Tracy, so you can sign up to be directly working on my team with the Increase Hunters at VABenefitsExpert.com. I think somebody has posted the link a few times in the comments there, and then you can work directly with me on my team. I would love to have you. Did you file direct service connection or secondary? Oh, so answering someone's question. I was in Vietnam and I filed Agent Orange and was denied. So if you have been exposed to Agent Orange or a Vietnam vet, step one is definitely getting on that registry, the Agent Orange registry exam. You'll go in for an exam and they'll see what's going on. If you have anything that is connected or presumed, they should give it to you at that point. So you do have to have something that is connected to Agent Orange because not always is it an exposure mean that you have something. So definitely want to see what issues you have going on and get on that registry. That's step one. Cannot hear me. Can you guys hear me still or no? I hope you guys can hear me, or I'm talking to myself. Secondary conditions to diabetes. Presumptive to Agent Orange, Vietnam. So there's a lot of things that can be secondary to diabetes. That peripheral neuropathy, that numbness and tingling in your feet, in your hands, and your extremities. There's a lot of things that are connected and can be claimed secondary. So we can go into more detail on some future webinars talking about secondaries because there's a lot of stuff out there. And that is a lot of what the claims out there are secondaries. Say you got injured and you have sleep apnea or you have bad back, but that has led to more things. Maybe you're taking medications for your back injury that has caused your GERD or has caused, the acid reflux. If I'm using acronyms that you don't know, I'm sorry. Please let me know in the comments if you have questions about things that I'm talking about. But there's a lot of secondaries and the opportunities and possibilities are kind of endless. So, but we can do another one specifically to secondary claims. Absolutely. Awesome. Can you help with sleep apnea secondary to PTSD? I did not claim it as secondary initially and was denied. So sleep apnea is one of the highest denied claims out there as a direct service connection, because again, you need that big three. So the diagnosis, current symptoms, and then that service connection is usually the tricky part. So for sleep apnea, If you didn't have a sleep study while you were in service, you have to have a connection, a link to it. And most people didn't get a sleep study in service either because they didn't know they had it, or they didn't really, sleep apnea wasn't really known until the last like 10, 15 years. So if you got out in the 90s or before then, you probably didn't have that sleep study, but there is a connection. We have coaches that have sleep apnea secondary to their PTSD, so it can be done. So if you want to get linked up with our med team to get that additional medical evidence, nexus, case studies, all that good stuff, let us know. You can get signed up today through the Elite program, and we can get you squared away. Awesome. I have my CMP exam Tuesday next week for PTSD. Any helpful advice? I'm so nervous. Be vulnerable and be honest. And that is my best piece of advice. Tell them what's going on. Tell them who you were before your service and who you are now, how those experiences changed who you are as a person, because it does change you. And sometimes it takes a little self-reflection, but come to the coaching sessions, watch all the YouTube videos. It's super important to be vulnerable. And that's what we do through the coaching. We talk about our symptoms and give you those examples and how you can relate to that. For instance, my first mental health exam, I walked in, they said, "Hey Laura, how you doing?" I said, "Good, how are you?" And they wrote that in my notes. My CMP examiner said that I was okay. And that frustrated me because the rest of the conversation could have told you that I was not fine. But now going in, I would say I'm not okay. I cried on the way here. I haven't slept in a few days. I'm struggling. So that's how you respond when they say, "How you doing?" Because we can all put on a good face and smile, and we all know how to kind of hide or minimize what's going on with us. Because again, that's the culture that the military is, that suck it up, drive on, drink some water, take an ibuprofen, you'll be fine. So it is hard for some of us to be honest and vulnerable, but that's the name of the game. You got to show them what's going on, because if you don't tell them, they don't write it down. And if it's not on paper, it didn't happen. So be vulnerable. That's my best advice there. I can hear you. Okay, good. I'm glad you guys can still hear me. Awesome. First CMP ever for me. It's intimidating to have a CMP exam, but if you're prepared, that's half the battle. If you kind of know what they're going to ask, have examples of all the things that affect you, it is important to give them that personal thing, because there's only so much people can tell from your medical records. But if you tell them how it's impacting you mentally, socially, professionally, that's what they want to hear. It makes it real. So give them examples. Don't just say, "I have anxiety." Say, "I have panic attacks weekly and I've had to leave work, or I've had to miss family functions." So be specific. That's my best advice. Tell them what's real. Tell them what's going on. What is the website for the registry? I served 2 deployments. I don't have it handy. Let me get it and I'll post it. Or if one of my coaches, can you pop the Agent Orange registry tab in there, or link in there, please? We'll get you squared away. And that is another thing. So records is super important. So if you don't have your military medical records, you can request those as well from the National Archives in St. Louis. We can help you get that process started. As far as your VA medical records, we can get those downloaded. It's called your Blue Button Report. So getting that evidence and having, that ammunition to support your claim is super important. So step 1 for any claim is getting it on paper. And if it's on paper, get that in your hands so that you have it, and you can keep that, because we all know sometimes the military will lose things. So having your own copy is important. And if you haven't already requested it and you don't have your military records, request it, get that ball rolling. But they are, I think, still closed due to the COVID-19 stuff going on. So it may take a few months to get your records, but it's best to get started with that stuff immediately. Didn't even know tinnitus was a thing until a year ago. So every time they asked me if I had it, I said no. So if you are trying to claim tinnitus in the future and you know that you have it now and you know what it is, tell them, "Hey, I didn't know what that meant. You asked me if I had tinnitus." "I don't think so." So make sure you let them know why that you said no previously. I was awarded 70% for PTSD. The exam sucked because you have to open doors that you've had shut for a while, but just open up. That's exactly. And it can be tough because there's some things, maybe you've never told anybody. You've never told your best friend or your spouse. And it can be difficult to talk about, but it's important to tell them what's going on so that you can be rated appropriately. Which registry? The Agent Orange registry exam. There it is. Awesome. How do you download the medical records for your file? So for your VA records, if you're currently getting treatment at the VA, you can get those on My Healthy Vet. And you can request it's called your Blue Button report, and that's how you get your current records. Now, as far as your in-service medical records, you'll have to request that from the National Archives if you don't have a copy. And we can post that link too. Hold on just a second. I got that on a sticky note here on my computer. So let me send you that. So this is how you request your in-service medical records, and not they don't have everybody's. They lose things, but request them anyway. See if we can get you guys on the right path. But if there's any questions that we missed, because there's over 80 comments in here, so I may have missed quite a few. But if you have questions directly for us, let us know. We'll try to answer all the questions here in the chat section. You can email me directly at laura@vaclaimsinsider.com. Just give me a few days to answer it, because after these lives, we usually get a lot of emails. So just give us a little wiggle room there, but we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And I would love to be your coach, your veteran coach through this process. We do want to make it as quick and painless as possible. So let us know what we can do to help you, because we are disabled veterans. We've been in your shoes. We understand that this process is daunting and frustrating. And sometimes anxiety causing, but we want to take care of you and get you on the right path. And it's important to address these things. And a lot of folks, they think, well, I don't need it. I'm not worried about it. But these, especially if it's presumptive, absolutely don't leave any rock unturned. Even if you're not too worried about the monetary compensation, if you pass away from something you're disabled for through the military, through your service with the VA, there's survivor benefits that your family can get. So if there's anything that you could pass away from, sleep apnea is a big one, PTSD, a lot of these things you can pass away from. You don't want to leave those things undone and unclaimed and unaddressed, because it may help your family. In that, and I'm not trying to be negative in that way, but it's important to claim these things. And a lot of people think it's too late or they don't deserve it. But again, if you served and you got hurt or you got sick, you deserve. So fight for what you need. Don't accept defeat, and keep moving forward. It's important, and we want you to be compensated. We want your family and you taken care of, because you are our family. So, all right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Blue Note, I have all my records, just need your doctor to review my file. Awesome. So if you're meeting with our doctors, any and everything you want them to look at, put in that folder we created for you, and they'll take a look at those. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to try to answer those questions once I jump off the live. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying healthy. If you need us, let us know. Please ask any questions here or on the private Facebook groups if you're already on there. If not, we'd love to have you as an elite member with our program, so you can get signed up today, and we'll get you started. But I hope you guys have a great day and a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next time.